All right, we're going to look at my beloved Noteboom today. We're going to take a look at another trap that you can fall for, or a version of a trap you maybe have seen before, but something that I felt quite surprising and didn't really expect. So let's jump in and take a look here. As always, there'll be a link in the description for the full PGN with more notes, more lines, more than I'm going to cover here. So anyway, let's take a look. All right, so as we're used to seeing in the Noteboom, off with these sort of moves here, and let's do that because I get tired of those noises. And this sort of surprising move, which is already at like a bit of an inaccuracy. It's not like terrible, but white's given away their advantage. So why does someone play bishop f4, and why is it bad? The reason why I think that people are playing it is that these are exchange players. They don't want to put the knight on f3 because their queen's gambit exchange, and they want to take here, they want to take here, they want to play e3, knight f2, bishop d3, and they want to go for this f3 e4 idea. And they're trying to avoid that. Now we have a couple options in the chess goals repertoire of how we might want to handle this position. We can take, or we could play f5 and try to go for a stonewall. I don't recommend going for the stonewall here because this bishop has already left and is not going to be shut in by this pawn, which is what we want. So the principled approach for us is to take. And now, after the most common move, which is e3, we're tempted to play b5, which is fine, and now a4. And this is where I think a lot of us are going to go wrong, because the most natural move for any note boom player would be to play bishop to b4. And after bishop b4, you saw the eval bar take a dive. And this is because it's no good for us. This is actually a blunder almost equivalent to a piece. The point is that after takes, we have queen f3, and then we play queen d5, and now queen g3 happens. And the point of queen g3 is that they're attacking this guy, which is going to get our rook, but also this knight, and we have no good way to save both of them. We're definitely going to go down a piece. And this is certainly bad, but we're going to stick around. If you stick around to the end, I'm going to show you why maybe you might actually consider going for this idea, even though it is objectively awful. It might be a lot of fun to play in blitz, and I'll show you why. So we'll go back, and after a4, really the best move is to play queen to b6. After queen to b6, the point is that we're defending this square so that we can meet these queen f3 ideas with a bishop. We're also supporting this pawn as well, so that after captures, this pawn is defended. And so we're doing kind of two things at once. We're defending the b7 square and the b5 square at the same time. And after this, development becomes quite normal. We get knight to f3. It doesn't really matter here. After this move, you got queen c7, you got bishop e2, maybe b3 is going to happen. We can play pretty normally here. After knight f3, knight f6 is probably best. It's actually okay after knight f3 to immediately play bishop to b4, and we can get kind of a normal position. Bishop e2, we can come out to b4, just castles, bishop b7. We're just going to play normally. Queen c2, maybe we want to play knight d7 to sort of discourage this. We can castle, we can play a6, maybe we can play a5. Point is we get a completely normal game, and we just going to get to hang on to our pawn. And this bishop is a bit misplaced here because it's not really where it wants to be. This bishop would like to be back on d2, supporting e4, or maybe it wants to go to g5 and trying to exchange itself to this bishop here, because white often wants to try to play e4, e6, play here, and get here, and that plan's a lot more effective if white manages to trade the dark square bishops. This is white's bad dark square bishop, of course. Before we go too much further in this, I do want to show you that there is a bit of a difference in move order in e3 versus playing a4. It seems like that they should just transpose, but they actually don't. And here, playing b5 or playing bishop to, of course we can't play b5, but playing bishop to b4 here is playable. It's not great, but the point is that you really can't follow up with b5 now. Because then you've just transposed back to the same problem we had before. And this is kind of tricky. So after a4, really, we want to play knight f6 is what I would recommend playing here. And after e3, we can play b5, and we are giving up a pawn, or not giving up a pawn, we're just giving our pawn back. Takes, and after knight takes, we have knight d5. And the point is we're trying to take advantage of the fact that this bishop has found itself on the f4 square, and we're maybe going to capture that. Now, if you take here, we can actually execute our additional threat, which is to play this check and taking advantage of this fact, this bishop cannot get back, and then the knight doesn't want to come back. Really, the actually best move, which is a little bit awkward to play, is just to play knight back to c3. We can grab here, you take here, and after, say, queen c7, we have a comfortable position. You can give this check. We can block here with the knight, which is kind of a nice idea because after captures here, we can just take this guy, and we have some awkward pawns. We do have the bishop pair, and it's an equalist position, and not more than equal, but not really less than equal either. All right, so as promised, I want to go take a peek at after this blunder and let you guys know that maybe, just maybe, this might be kind of fun to play. Believe it or not, as bad as this position is, just being down a piece, this knight e7 is quite a tricky move. And despite the fact that white's just going to outright win a piece, black is actually winning most of these positions. And I want to show you a sample line, actually not just a sample line, a game that happened, and just some cool ideas. We had a kind of a venomous idea with this. So of course, the best and only move is to capture the piece. It's not only move. You can play here, but then, we capture here, and you can take this guy, and now you're not really threatening to win a piece. We have tremendous development, and this is equalish at best. I'd probably rather play black. So you grab the piece, and then we're going to hit you with knight to f4. And it's not that easy to figure out where you want to put the queen. You really only have two realistic choices. The most common move that people are playing is here, but then we can just drop back, and this bishop is not going to escape, and we're probably just doing more than well here, actually. We've already totally equalized. There's no advantage for white any longer, despite the additional piece. This king is just too stuck in the center, and you're going to really struggle to get out of here. This bishop can't leave. We're going to play rook a7, pick up the bishop. We have all of our material back. We're totally happy. That's the most common, the absolute most common way that people play is queen to e5. The second most common is queen to c7, which is not a mistake yet. It's attacking this bishop. It's threatening to play here and winning this pawn, and we can just castle. And now the most common move by far is just to capture. And this is a game-losing blunder for white. They have gone way too greedy. They've already won a piece. They tried to win a pawn. They think they're going to exchange rooks, but we have this beautiful move, queen to e4. And it's a luscious idea. The point is that this rook cannot get back because now, thanks to you capturing our a pawn, our rook is now defending that. And we're threatening to come into here and all kinds of problems. There's not really any great way for white to handle this. They can try to play f3, trying to get an escape route, but that's not really going to help. The best, I say the best, but I mean, what else? Take a piece. And we don't bother taking it back. We give check, and then the king tries to run. So we have this other additional really nice sacrifice. And granted, this was played in a game. This is a fantastic game that got played. It takes, and now just takes, and takes, and takes, and the king is just on the run. We've gained back a tremendous amount of material. Now, granted, we're still down a piece and a rook, but we have 3 pawns for it. And look at that king on f4. King to f3 best. And now we have a lot of different choices. Queen to c5, f5, even e5 might work. But, bishop to c5 makes the most sense. We're targeting this guy, and this is clearly going to be a huge problem. Knight h3 makes some sense, just trying to defend this square. But now just f5, which kills this square. And again, we had more options. e5 is a choice. This is a choice. f5, which was what was played in the game. And then queen to f4 happened, and now queen to c3, and the game's over. You have nothing better than just to give your queen back. And this line is chock full of games like this. Despite the fact that after we played knight to e7, and you capture the knight, and we're just down a full piece for a pawn, this scores incredibly well for black. Now, in a serious game, you should never go for this. But this is a really kind of a cool blitz weapon. This is like those of you who want to get your England Gambit fix. This might be a fun way to go about it. Anyhow, I hope this was interesting. As always, if you want to look next in your journey to master the Noteboom, there will be another video. in the description somewhere over here is probably. But check that out and become a master of the Noteboom. And I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.